Hey everybody, I have a video here for you today. For new subscribers, I talk about a lot of different periods of history, a lot of different aspects of ancient history. But one thing I have concentrated on over the last year and a half has been ancient America. I did a series on ancient America about 4 years ago, and then about a year and a half ago I thought I'd reinvestigate it because there was about 20 sites on a list that I wanted to talk about. And now, a year and a half later, I got about 80 sites still to talk about, so this has been quite the series to do, and there's always something to talk about. So whenever I have a few free minutes, I like to get another site out of the way. But we're going down to Mississippi today. This is called the Winterville Mounds, and these are some pretty impressive step pyramid mounds, and you can really see them good from overhead. And if we came across something like this in the Egyptian desert, unknown, we'd be going crazy. Look at the lost pyramid found. Because it's in ancient America. Now, as I backed out here, you notice some other sites in the general area. Here is Poverty Point down here in the south, Moundville to the east. There is the Holly Bluff site I talked about not long ago, and there are some mound sites to the north that I'm going to talk about in the near future. But this is the site. You notice there were waterways that once went through here, and the land kind of reforms or reshapes itself. But this has one of the largest platform mounds in the U.S. right here. This is over 55 feet tall still. Very impressive, and you can tell these were actual pyramid-shaped structures with stairways coming off of them. But this is pretty well preserved, and this went untouched for decades when a lot of these mounds were being looted and excavated by treasure hunters. But today, this is how it looks. Now let's take a look at what it looked like maybe 1,800 years ago. Now here is the main mound in the middle here, and there wasn't many mounds bigger than this one. Stairways coming down and pyramid structures all the way around the city. This tells me it was a very important city, and maybe we have a name for it. And here is an artist's conception based on what was found here, how this place looked maybe 1,000 years ago when this place was flourishing. But certainly 4-sided pyramid structures on the outside and one big one in the central part of the city here. Now here's an article I will leave below. The Unconquered and Unconquerable, the mystery of the Winterville Mounds. Who built the mounds? Why did they leave? Where did they go? Archaeologists are still digging for answers. It says, amid vast fields of corn, cotton, and soy in the flat expanse of the Mississippi Delta, 12 unnatural masses of land stand like grassy trapezoids risen out of the dirt. 800 years ago at this site, 1 mile south of Greenville, Native American hands built something special. The Winterville Mounds are now considered an important piece of the puzzle of the prehistoric Mississippi natives. They are home to heaps of historical information, artifacts, and human bones, all clues to what happened here. In 1907, archaeologist C.B. Moore ventured from his usual excavation site in Moundville, Alabama, and sank over 100 holes at Winterville. He didn't find anything he considered worthy of further exploration, such as pottery or human remains. Luckily, when word got out that he had found nothing, people left the mounds virtually untouched and, most importantly, unlooted. It wasn't until Jeffrey Brain's extensive investigation of the site in partnership with the Lower Mississippi Survey at Harvard University in 1967 that it was revealed to be an important piece of Native American history. Brain's new photo now hangs in place of honor at the small state museum here. Here it goes over proposals to improve this site and problems they've been having. It says the museum we have built was built in 1968. It's got problems. It's not really large enough to suit our purposes, particularly since this is the biggest site in Mississippi. Indeed, Winterville is a special jewel on the state's new mound trail, which invites tourists and residents to explore the many mounds built by some of the 22 tribes that populated Mississippi more than 200 years ago. And it goes back maybe 2,000 years ago or even further, in my opinion. It says Mound A, one of the tallest in the United States, is 55 feet tall, and that's really tall for an earthen mound just built up with basketfuls at a time. That is really tall, but overcome with trees, weeds, and bushes because of lack of funding. It says the bunker-like museum, which from the outside looks like a small, grassy mound, is home to various artifacts, maps, and explanatory posters. Within the mounds, layers of long-buried history wait to be extracted from packed dirt. Some of what has already been unearthed: bones from burial mounds, pottery both intact and in shards, tools, arrowheads, projectile points. Some are made from rocks such as obsidian or quartz that had to travel great distances to find their resting place in Mississippi. And there's a site just north of here that I'm going to talk about where the obsidian, where'd it come from? Came from Wyoming. And we've all heard about the Spanish going to Mesoamerica and Mexico and really trying to take over in that area. Well, they went to America too, because there were cities, pyramid-type cities, all over this southern United States area too. It says the first documentation of people here, written documentation, is by Hernando de Soto. There's some pretty good documentation of frontal nation cities, people in the Mississippi Delta and across the river into Arkansas, Howell says. And I have mentioned an ancient city name, I think on a video I did on an Arkansas site. And there is some controversy where this city actually was that De Soto was talking about. Well, Winterville is one of the best candidates in my mind. It says a puzzle piece in the ongoing mystery of Winterville's history is an ancient city known as Quigualcum. Spanish chroniclers wrote of the city, though it is most likely misspelled due to the language barrier. Howell said archaeologists theorize that Winterville could be this ancient city because of the geography, and now because of radiocarbon dating, because of the size of Winterville and where the Spanish were when they came across this name. There are some theories. It's been renewed now that Winterville, its real name was Quigualcum. If that's true, this puts a real name to a place, a really neat name to a place, and also puts it in history. The etymology of the words leads to historians believe that the people who settled near Winterville spoke an early Tunacan language. Now here is what they describe as a hollowed out tree that was used as a canoe maybe 1,000 years ago. And there's evidence of huge cypress logs that were used as large canoes that could seat as many as 50 people, 20 plus paddlers on each side. Here is a look at one of the mounds at the Winterville site. Here is a look from inside the park, a small river running through here and one of the major mounds in the background. And they say that people did not live around the major mounds, just maybe the chiefs and a few important people, and then the people lived on the outskirts of the area. Here is a pic of the site from 2002, but it says here, a great fire during the late 1300s consumed the original building on the Temple Mound at Winterville, according to archaeological evidence. The cause of the fire remains a mystery. The site continued to be used afterward, but no more mounds were built or maintained. Even though the site continued to be occupied after the fire, the general population declined at Winterville, while increasing at settlements at mound sites 50 miles to the south in the lower Yazoo River Basin. By 1450, the Winterville Mound site appears to have been abandoned completely. And here's another pic of the mound with a person down here. Sometimes we don't get the proper scale. The largest mound here was 55 feet tall. Well, maybe we can give a little scale perspective here. This is Fenway Park in Boston. There's a baseball player. This wall is 37 feet tall. The tallest mound at Winterville was 55 feet tall. But this article ends this way, and it's about archaeoastronomy, so I thought this was really good because not a lot of these places have been looked into very strongly as far as archaeoastronomy. But it says, an archaeoastronomer, William Romaine, looked at the site from a cosmic perspective and discovered that the key mounds line up perfectly with the moon when it reaches a major lunar standstill. It says lunar standstills occur every 18.6 years when the range of the declination of the moon reaches a maximum. As a result, at high latitudes, the moon's greatest altitude changes just 2 weeks from a high in the sky to a low over the horizon. The three largest mounds sit in a line, marching directly toward the moon every 18 or so years when it dips down to its southernmost point. The moon was looked at a lot in the ancient cultures, just as the sun was, and sometimes the moon had even more meaning because it shows up in the daytime as well as the nighttime. But the Winterville site is one of those places that's not widely known or known at all, and it's kind of lost history, and it will remain lost history if nobody talks about it. Here is one pic from the site where people are here gathering. That'll give you some idea how big this mound actually is. That's huge. But here from overhead, you get a real good idea that there was an important site here a long, long time ago, 800 years ago, 1,000 years ago. Why did they leave? Where did they come from? A lot of questions still in ancient America, but this place is really covered with cities from a long time ago. And so is all of ancient America. Hope you thought that was cool, and you all have a very nice day.